By 2028, we will face a massive global intelligence crisis, mass unemployment, demand collapse. The economy grinds to a halt because we automated too much too fast. You've heard this narrative. It's everywhere in AI discourse right now. It sounds plausible, recursive self-improvement, exponential growth, the whole pitch. But here's the thing. The people actually moving capital at scale, they're not buying it. Citadel Securities just published a direct rebuttal to this displacement panic. And if you're building with AI or betting on its economic impact, you need to understand why they're pushing back and where their analysis might still be missing the mark. Let's start with the obvious disconnect. The doomer narrative assumes AI adoption is accelerating exponentially, that we are on the verge of sudden mass labor substitution. But look at the St. Louis Fed's real-time population survey data. Yes, overall Gen AI usage is climbing. About 56% of working-age adults have used it. But here's a number that actually matters for displacement: daily use for work. That figure? Flat. Around 10 to 13% in the past year. No inflection, no hockey stick. Meanwhile, software engineering job postings are up 11% year over year. New business applications are near all-time highs. Data center construction is driving a hiring boom in heavy engineering. This is not what imminent labor displacement looks like. Citadel's key insight here is that recursive technology does not equal recursive adoption. Just because AI can improve itself doesn't mean organizations can absorb it at that speed. You've got physical constraints, semiconductor supply, energy capacity, regulatory approval. You've got organizational friction, trust barriers, and coordination costs. The diffusion curve is S-shaped, not exponential. Early adoption is slow. Growth accelerates in the middle. Then it saturates as marginal adopters face diminishing returns. We've seen this movie before. Every major technology follows this pattern. AI isn't any different. It's just moving faster through the early phases. Now, the deeper argument. Even if adoption does accelerate, does that automatically mean demand collapse? Citadel says no. And this is where their macro framework matters. AI-driven automation is a productivity shock. Productivity shocks are supply shocks. They lower marginal costs, expand potential output, and increase real income. Historically, they're disinflationary and growth enhancing. The counterargument that AI is different because it hits white-collar income directly has a logical flaw. Citadel puts it bluntly: a scenario in which productivity surges but aggregate demand collapses while measured output rises violates accounting identities. Think about it for a second. If firms produce more at a lower cost, either prices fall or margins expand. Lower prices increase real purchasing power. Higher margins increase investment capacity. Something on the demand side has to rise. Consumption, investment, government spending, or net exports. For demand to actually collapse, you'd need near total automation, plus complete failure of redistribution mechanisms, plus investment drying up simultaneously. In democratic economies facing displacement, regulatory and fiscal responses are inevitable. They limit how far substitution can go. The historical parallel Citadel uses is perfect. Microsoft Office. Ex ante, everyone worried it would replace office workers. Ex post, it's clearly complemented them, expanding what white-collar labor could do rather than eliminating them. So, is Citadel right? Mostly. But there's a gap in their analysis that matters for builders. They treat AI as a single productivity shock. It's not. It's a continuous capability shock. Office software reached saturation. AI models don't. The frontier keeps moving. Their S-curve analysis assumes we're measuring adoption of a static tool. But what happens when the tool itself becomes capable of new task categories every 6 months? The adoption curve for current capabilities may plateau, but the curve for next capabilities starts fresh. This matters for substitution elasticity. Citadel argues that many tasks remain costly to automate. Physical, relational, regulatory, supervisory work. True for today's models. But the boundary of what's costly to automate isn't static. It shifts as capabilities improve. The other gap is compositional effects. Even if aggregate demand holds, the distribution of that demand changes radically. Capital owners versus labor. High-skilled cognitive workers versus routine cognitive workers. outliers. The macro aggregates look fine, while specific cohorts get hollowed out. Citadel acknowledges this briefly but dismisses it by saying democratic nations would err towards regulatory offsets. Maybe, but the policy lags are real. Adjustment periods matter. We'll eventually redistribute doesn't help if you're the software engineer displaced in 2026 before the fiscal response arrives. Here's what to take from this. First, the near-term displacement panic is overblown. The data doesn't support it. Adoption curves are S-shaped, not exponential. Organizational integration creates friction that models don't capture. Second, productivity shocks are supply shocks. The baseline case is growth positive, not demand collapse. If you're building AI infrastructure, the crisis narrative actually understates the opportunity. AI capex is 2% of GDP and climbing. Third, but don't confuse no crisis with no change. The composition of work shifts even if the aggregate holds. The boundary of automatable tasks moves continuously, not in discrete jumps. And the policy response, while likely, won't be instantaneous or uniform. Citadel conclude that AI is probably just enough to offset secular headwinds, aging, deglobalization, climate costs, keeping trend growth near that historical 2%. Not utopia, not collapse, just continuation. For builders, that's actually useful. It means infrastructure plays remain valid. Data centers, energy, semiconductor supply chain, these are bottleneck assets regardless of which narrative wins. But it also means the replace humans thesis is slower and harder than the demos suggest. The money is in augmentation, workflow integration, and vertical specific tooling that handles the organizational friction Citadel describes. If you're navigating AI strategy for your company, whether it's infrastructure decisions, adoption roadmaps, or understanding where the real bottlenecks are, I consult with teams on exactly this. Reach out to me at the email in the description. If you enjoyed watching this video, hit like and subscribe. Drop a comment. Are you seeing different adoption patterns in your vertical? I'll see you in the next one.